What's up, everybody, and welcome to the show, The Hype Mind. My name is Daniel, and this is
Bear. What up?
Guess what we're talking about today? We're talking about no. I almost said no to this podcast,
No.
but it's very important to talk about because a lot of people, including myself, say yes to things that we mean no. And that's a little dangerous there. If that is happening to you, what I want you to do is step back, analyze the situation, and ask yourself, why am I saying yes when another part of me might want to say no?
A more authentic part of you.
Correct. And there's something about that when you feel pressured, you feel like you have to say yes, it actually makes your yes less powerful, less genuine, because you don't have the ability to say no, or you don't have the confidence in yourself to say no. So it's not always about saying no, but it's about the ability, the confidence, the courage to actually say no.
Well, I'll bet if you look at your own life, you'll find an area where you are really bad at that, at saying no, and you know it. You know that you wish you were always able to tell. Maybe it's your family. Makes me think of one of my coworkers, right? I have a lot of great coworkers, and one of them has family obligations every weekend, and most of the time he doesn't want to attend them, right? But he goes, "Well, it's family, so I gotta," And I was like, "That's do you have to though? Do you have to? Like you have a a significant other, you have uh, children in your life to take care of, you have your own personal projects, you have all these other things. You don't, and so that's where the ability to say no really comes in quick. Is we often think we don't have to say no, or we don't think we should say no. We don't think it's appropriate, but really, you know, like we said, that authentic self, that more genuine part of you wants to. It's and the reality is we need to realize and hear, and that's what we're here to do, is tell you this. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, you know, I'm not feeling that this weekend, or I'm really not in the mood to go out this Friday night, or I'm really not up for getting drunk this, today, or um, there are things you can't say no to, like going to work, but there's also days where you're going to be asked to do things even at work where you need to be able to say, I can't handle more work today. I have this many projects on my desk, and no, I'm sorry, I can't take another project today. You know, um, and those are all the examples I'm talking about. Whether you understand those on a personal level because you've experienced that, um, or not, but that's what we're getting at, and that's the message we're here to tell you: is you are allowed to say no. It is okay to say no, especially if you're one of those people who is a pleaser and you're always trying to make people happy and to do what you believe is right. You're like, well, the right thing to do is to spend time with family. The right thing to do is to help my boss and do the extra work. That's not always the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the right thing to do is to say, no, I can't handle more. I can't do this today. Today, my schedule's packed. Today, my mental, you know, my mental state or my stress is, it's on the peak. I'm already pushing myself today, or whatever the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So take care of yourself, first of all. And then also, I want to go back to the guy you work with, that gentleman. When he goes to these family events, these family obligated, who knows? What he probably is experiencing is inner conflict that makes that decision to go ingenuine, and
Right.
he's not enjoying his time there. This is draining him. It's not good for him. People probably see it on him that he doesn't want to be there. And so that's why I say it's really important to analyze your situation. And again, it's not always about saying no, but it's about having the freedom and courage to say no.
Right.
And who knows,
Well,
like
that's what. Yeah.
maybe he could, attend that, but understand and reconstruct why he's going. Why does he want to go? and really face his own internal conflict that's telling him that maybe he feels like he doesn't want to go, and really confront
Right.
that and find out where the heck that's coming from. I mean, we don't people please for no reason, right? It's because most of the time there's fear there, there's fear of judgment, there's fear of really conflict. And
It's a lot
something you
deeper.
mentioned before in a video we made a long time ago, I said that saying no isn't the end of the conversation. Like saying no to anybody, it doesn't just end there. I think it's really beautiful in whatever kind of relationship you're in when you're able to sit down and talk after saying no and really understand where you're coming from, maybe understand yourself more. Why do I feel like I want to say no? But it doesn't instantly mean conflict. And
Well,
that's
that's
something
true.
to keep in mind.
And what you mentioned right off the bat, the understanding the why that's important, why it's important to say no, and what happens as a result when you don't, showing up to that situation or engaging in the aftermath of not saying no, of saying yes to something you didn't really want to say yes to, what happens. That conflict is a great point, because you do sit there and you think, man, that was stupid. Man, I can't handle this. Man, this is dumb. Man, this is boring. Man, I don't want to be here. And you end up angry at yourself. You end up angry at other people. You end up resentful at yourself and other people. That internal conflict, a lot of times it's on a very mild level, but it exists, because that's what happens. You go to the party you don't want to be at, and well, you act like you don't want to be there because you don't want to be there. And the other thing that comes up with this conversation, is I think of women, because that's a tough spot when it comes to being a man and a woman too, where people really have a hard time saying no. Is depending on their attachment style. A lot of times you have a really hard time saying no to your partner, and that's a lot like the family situation, where you think you owe them something because they're your family, or they're someone you love, or they do all these things for you, and so you have to do these things for them. But much like you said, Daniel, you got to look out for yourself first. It's not, doesn't mean conflict, like you said, just to say no. It doesn't mean that the reason you're saying no is because you don't love somebody or because you don't care about something. And explaining that is good. It's that dialogue of, I'm not saying yes to more workload at work today because I'm already, five 5 hours behind,
Mm-hmm.
and 5 projects deep, and I literally won't get it done. Right.
No,
And
that's a great point.
explaining that, because the same thing with people you love is that scenario pops up. You go, well, they're not going to understand. Well, if they love you, they should understand. If they love you, then they'll get that you're saying, no, I want more space tonight, or no, I'm not coming over to this family lunch because you've already got plans. Maybe they asked you too late. Maybe you don't have the energy to, spend around that many people that day, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then, that's
Fair. Your hand might be on the recorder.
might be.
It's
Oh yeah, it
tough
is.
to hear. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, no, that's just the fact of the matter is, just because you say no doesn't mean, it could mean there'll be a problem, right? But that's, again, something you can foresee. Saying yes to avoid problems doesn't solve problems. It actually just digs you deeper into a hole, because now you become someone who's never allowed to say no, because you never say no, and so you never know how to say no, and people never expect you to say no, right? So being able to say no and understand that you are capable of explaining why you said no, and you are permitted to say no, and hopefully people can understand, and if they can't, then that's tough, as to why you said no. That's it. And no doesn't have to be said no either. That's another big thing is, can you're coming to the family outing this weekend, your answer doesn't have to be no. It's, that sounds like a lot of fun, I hope you guys have a great weekend, I already have a very busy day, I won't have time for it. Right? You don't have to say no. You can simply say, have a great time there, my Saturday's already busy. right? Because no is a very negative word. So you can use positive words, positive phrases to get your point across and to be that genuine self.
Yeah. Play the yes and game. If you're
Yeah.
really
Yep.
bad at it.
Yes. And yep. Yep.
Yes and yes
No,
and
no
I have
buts.
to-
Yes. Ends. Yes. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I wish I could be there, but I have plans all day Saturday. So I hope you guys have a great time, you know? See, I even by mistake almost put a butt in there.
I heard.
Tough.
It is
Tough.
tough. Anyhow, it's good to be good at being capable of saying no and having the courage when it's necessary to say no, because no matter what you do, who you say yes to, you have to say no most of the time to someone else. If you're going to some
Well,
party, you're probably not going to someone else's party as well. So just really being comfortable with that, and then really just in general, not even just saying no to people, but saying no to things in life just gives you direction. You need to be able to put up boundaries. And when you're all over the place, you spread yourself out too thin. So
yeah.
when you're able to really put up walls where they're necessary to lead you on a straight path that's going to get you to, from point A to point B,
Ooh, okay. And
progress you in life, then that's good. And that's a good quality to have, is say no to things that don't serve you or don't
yeah,
serve
and I would
the
edit
purpose
that
for
a
right
little.
now.
I would edit that a little. I wouldn't even say walls, right? Because a lot of times that's what people are afraid of, is they're like, if I say no, it's me putting up a wall. It doesn't have to be a wall, right? It's you acknowledging a boundary. And a boundary can be a line in the sand. And a line in the sand is not a wall, right? So be careful how you look at it. Be careful how you perceive it, because a lot of times that doesn't help.
That's true. That is
The
true.
other thing I would say is, and you kind of mentioned this right in the beginning, was the reason it's really important to say no on top of all that is respect, you know, and people have respect for people who can say no. Um, and you have respect for yourself when you can say no. You, you know, you, like you said, you are capable of acting more courageously, more fearlessly, more confidently, which all helps to build your self-esteem and your positive self-image. And people can see that, you know, that gets projected out there, and people can say, wow, this is someone who doesn't succumb to peer pressure, doesn't get pushed left and right, you know, isn't a pushover, isn't a doormat, isn't, you know, someone who can get noosed and dragged by a horse, or roped and dragged by a horse would probably be a better way to say that. But you know, it's people have a lot of respect for people who are able to set those lines in the sand and say, it's just not happening for me today. You know, it's a great idea. What you're going to do is a lot of fun, or maybe it's not. You know, what you're going to do is the wrong thing, and I'm not joining. Whatever the case is, whether it's fun or whether you're even more confident and courageous and willing to take that step and say, actually, I'm going to say no because what you're doing is wrong. Right? That's even bigger. There's a lot of people who are even worse at doing that, probably. But that right there sets that foundation for something that's super fundamental, which, like Daniel mentioned before, we talked about in the past, and that is respect. You know, you need respect is absolutely critical, and it is a fundamental for you to be able to build yourself up as a person. And being able to say no is one of the biggest ways you do that, especially when you shouldn't be doing something that you're saying yes to or want to say yes to.
Yes. No, you make incredible points there. Those two, especially the one with the line in the sand. It's like, it doesn't, saying no to anything doesn't end the relationship.
Right. It
And
doesn't mean an argument. It doesn't mean the end of the world. It doesn't mean a wall. It's
just
you.
like,
It's your true nature. You know, it's what your heart is telling you. It's listening to your gut, what have you.
correct. And then
Yeah.
that's what makes it special too, is like, you guys are both unique. You're a unique person, and even gaining respect,
Right.
like, you're a unique person. You don't just go with whatever. Like, you have your own thoughts and opinions, and they matter to you. And that's what makes you
Right.
special as a person.
Well, and that's you. enforcing your own creed, your own standards, and that's what people look for in other people. You know, I know that's what I look for. I look for people who have standards for themselves and who know what their standards are, and who at least try to hold themselves to their standards. Because I'm not pretending that's easy, but if you don't have standards, you usually aren't doing great in life. You're getting tossed around. You're struggling. People are struggling to want to take you seriously. All that other stuff, and that's because
People can't
respect doesn't
rely on
really
you.
exist there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't. Yeah, they can't rely on you, right?
No.
So,
anyways,
say no.
Any last thoughts?
But say it. No. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I would just say as a final thought, remember you can say no, and remember that you can say no in a way that doesn't say no. You can say no in a positive way without saying the word no. Like Daniel said, yes and.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Peace.